Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my Hyperion progression series. Today, I'm just going to start off by saying I pretty much only really have one goal for this video. And that is, if you guys could maybe guess from the previous part, I really want to clear Hardwell. That is my main and sole focus of today, and I want to do as much as I can to try to get that clear. I spent some time watching over my run from a few days ago, and I came to a few conclusions. The first one, of course, is I was missing a few big buffs, and because I was going for such a low damage clear, I needed everything I could get, and honestly, my buffs were kind of half-assed. I didn't really have enough consumables. I didn't have Tengu, Fame, amongst other things to really go for that clear, and it did really affect my ability to get through the last phase of the boss. Another thing that I realized as well was actually my guild skills. You can see, if you haven't noticed, I'm actually in a different guild right now. My original guild, which is also in the same alliance, didn't actually have full guild skills in the first one. And what ended up happening was I was missing the boss damage guild skill for the last 10 minutes of the fight, which was basically the entirety of P3. So now that I'm in this new guild, we do have a little bit more in our guild skills, so hopefully that will help out a little bit throughout the entire fight. And combining that with just having more buffs in general, hopefully this will be enough to get the clear. I have set up all my things, including my links, my legion, and my equips. And with all of these set up, I'm sitting at about 35k stat with some amounts of boss and ID, which will be changed during the boss fight, of course. And then hopefully, with all these changes that I've made and like these small optimizations, I'll have enough damage to be able to clear P3 will and get our first Hardwell clear on this account. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and gather the rest of the buffs. I need to do some things like I need to fame somebody with ideally a 275 chair. I need to grab maybe one or two more consumables, and we'll try again at Hardwell. I really want to get this clear. Now that I see it's like so close in front of me, I have the very big opportunity to get this boss down. And something really exciting about getting a low damage Hardwell, I think that was one of the bosses other than Hard Lotus where I really like trying to go for the min damage clear. So like I said, I'm going to grab my buffs and I'll see you guys in a little bit. And hopefully on this first attempt of today, I'll get that clear. Another pretty close run for us. That one I actually messed up pretty hard. I didn't actually do my bind at the very end, and I got skill locked right when I was about to bind. I thought I could get my cleanse off to avoid the dodge, but I guess the web came up when I didn't have my cleanse up. And just a very small timing on the very end. I think I had enough moonlight to try to go for the kill. But I played P3 kind of poorly. I didn't live as long as I did on the first run. And I kind of ran down my lives. My first one, I died to stop on entry because I mistimed my dodge. And yeah, a lot of things kind of went wrong at the very end. But on the upside though, I definitely now have the damage to clear the boss. That was a 100% clear if I didn't mess up in P3. With only 9% remaining and I didn't even get my last burst off. That is super clearable. I just need to play a lot cleaner in P3. I think I spent too much time trying to DPS and it didn't dodge enough to keep my moonlight up to try to get the webs cleared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this again in a little bit. I just need to wait for my guild buffs to come back. And then I'll run it back into Will to see if we can get this clear again. Getting really close to it. It's just a misplay at the end of P3 which costed me the run. It was extremely close. I just needed to fully get the last burst off and that was the clear. Hopefully in the next run I'll play a lot cleaner in P3 and we'll kill H-Will. So for the second run, I'm actually going to do a little bit of commentary around the boss fight, so then you guys can have a bit more of an understanding of what's going through my head while I'm going through this solo. For a hard wheel solo, there's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind throughout the entire fight, so then you can make the most of your damage and try not to mess up too many mechanics at the same time. And I think the first thing that you have to really be careful of is the initial burst on the first phase of P1. You really want to balance it so both sides have taken the same amount of damage. That way, so then when you go into the first test, which is about a minute into the fight, he doesn't heal too much. And this was the issue that I had on my very first run, where I over-damaged one side way too much, and then he healed it all back, and then I spent like an extra 2 minutes trying to clear it back down again. So being able to correctly split your burst to be able to keep it even across both sides is really important. Other than that, P1 is relatively straightforward. It just kind of comes down to not throwing away your lives. In this second run of mine, I actually just for some reason tried to teleport behind Will when he did Tornado, and I just teleported straight into a Tornado and died. And that really set the tone for the fight, because you really want to have at least, like I want to say 8 lives going into P3 at the bare minimum if you're trying to do a min damage clear. And just losing a life in P1, it feels really bad. Thankfully though, for me, the rest of P1 went relatively fine, and we go into P2 with 9 lives. Not the worst, but not ideal, that's for sure. Now in P2, there's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind, and the main thing that you want to try to maintain is your moonlight. There's a lot of things in this phase that takes away or reduces your moonlight, including things like the legs and the little red pellets that fly around. So there's a very big priority in avoiding the pellets so that you can actually heal, and avoiding the legs as often as you can so that you can actually develop moonlight. Even though I have healing fams, it's not quite enough if you take too many hits, and because I'm trying to go for such a low clear, I actually end up taking a lot of hits so that I can stay on the boss a little bit longer. So avoiding things as best I can is really important, so I don't just die. For this particular run, it didn't go too smoothly for me in P2. There's a point where I was trying to avoid his attacks by trying to teleport behind him, and he happened to do webs at the same time, so that just took a life for no reason. Realistically, what I should have tried to do was just try to play a little bit closer towards the middle so I don't risk him spawning webs on top of me. So that was just a misplay on teleporting behind him and getting hit by the webs. And then for this part, I get actually pushed away by Will. This is something that you have to be really careful of, getting pushed into webs. Typically you want to stay towards the middle of the field so then if you do get hit, you don't get thrown into the webs. And for me, for some reason, after I got hit, I just like dashed into a web and died. So that was a pretty terrible death in this phase as well. Other than that, I think P2 is relatively simple if you know the mechanics. It's just a matter of making sure that you don't get hit by too many things and you keep your health up and avoid the things like the webs. And then to round out my P2 experience in this particular run, I just HP death. It just took too many hits all at the same time, right before he phased as well. So really unfortunate, and at the same time, pretty terrible. Going into P3 with only 6 lives, it's not looking very good for me in this run. Now I want to talk a little bit about P3, because P3 is by far the most difficult part of the boss. The first thing that I have to mention is this green poison. You really want to burst with it on if you're doing a min damage clear. So I time my origin burst with the green poison, which is pretty good, making the most out of that damage buff and doing kind of the best I can in terms of what I have. And for my first burst, I kind of just focus on doing damage. I don't really try to avoid too many things. I'll do things to avoid taking too much damage, but for the most part I'm just focusing on DPSing the boss to make the most out of that small burst timer. And then afterwards, I'm going to be spending the rest of my time doing the best I can to dodge pretty much everything. So the legs that spawn from the top, when they hit you, they actually reduce your moonlight generation rate. So if you do get hit by them, your moonlight goes up much slower. So it's a really big priority for me to actually just avoid as many of those legs as possible. And you'll see throughout the fights, every attempt that I do, it's a huge priority for me. I will literally stop hitting the boss so then I can dodge those legs in order to develop moonlight. And similarly, those red pellets, again in P3, if you get hit by them, it takes away some of your moonlight. And given how long my P3 is going to be, it's really, really important for me to have as much moonlight as possible to keep my field as clean as possible. For me, I realized that when I'm not doing my main burst, I should be focusing on just doing very light DPS and focusing mostly on dodging and cleaning the webs. You can see in this run, I've only been in this run for about 3 minutes so far, and the big left web is already starting to encroach on me, which is a pretty bad sign that I'm not holding very well. At this point, I just need to keep cleansing and try to keep the webs away. And when you have a lot of space like this, it's like the best time to keep the webs clean, and you're not focusing too much on damage. You have a lot of space to play with, so you can easily dodge a lot of things. And when it starts to get smaller, that's when you really start to feel the pressure in avoiding the legs. Despite how many lives I had going into P3, I end up just surviving pretty well. I didn't take too many lives, and I come towards the end of the fight with about 5 lives remaining, and this is where you kind of have to play very carefully. What I did wrong here is that I just kept using my cleanse when I didn't really need to. I only had like maybe 2 or 3 spaces left to play with, and I was just wasting my moonlight. And on top of that, I even used my Hero's Will, which is really, really important to have up. The way that you play through the webs at the end is that you need to be able to cleanse while keeping your wills up so then you don't get skill locked. If you get skill locked towards the end, it is very bad because you lose so much damage from it, and you need just both of them up. And for whatever reason, I decide to use it. And you can see here, very soon I'm just wasting more moonlight and I'm just going to die. And that's the problem with wasting the moonlight, because I can't build it up properly anymore because I don't have space to dodge. And when I respawn, I won't have any moonlight to cleanse and give myself the space to keep going on the fight. So realistically, I should have just held on to my moonlight and not done anything, and just taken the lives and used that as a resource instead. Me using the Hero's Will was also really bad because now I don't have a way to avoid the skill lock when I do get webbed if I misplay. So no moonlight and no wills is just a rough situation to be put into. And you can see here, coming into the end of the fight, I completely mess up here. I have the moonlight, but I don't have the damage. And I also get skill locked here. When it came to the end of the fight, me not having enough lives really costed me the run. And also not having proper moonlight generation prepping before this final part really messed up my opportunity to DPS at the very end. I didn't have any live footage at the time, but I do remember after that run, I was pretty disappointed with my performance, especially because I went into P3 with only 6 lives, and then my P3 was very underwhelming for my own standards. I took too many hits, I couldn't clean the webs very well, and it was very obvious too to me because in the middle of the fight, the big left web spawned really early, and yeah, it was just a rough run for me, and I needed to mentally reset, so I went off and did some dailies and did other things. Just kind of took it easy afterwards. Because will does take a lot out of you, especially if you're focusing for so long. It's a full 30-minute run for me, for example, so yeah, just kind of took it easy after that. And hopefully on the third one for this day, actually, it would be my third run, I do a lot better, and with the mental reset, maybe I can get further into the fight. Yes! Wow. Oh. Oh my god, guys. I'm actually like shaking right now, my hands. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell on the mouse, but holy heck, my hands. I got the clear. Holy, I am actually shaking so much right now. You guys have no idea. I don't really want to think too much. I just want to break this box and get out of here and try to gather my thoughts, because holy, my heart is actually racing so fast right now. I will actually cry if I crash right now. Holy shit. Actually got the clear on hard will. I don't even know. I can't believe I did that. 35k stat with my damage gear. No event buffs really, except for this. The remainders of this Idensis event. Let's get out of here. Hard will cleared. Holy hell. Oh my god. Didn't get anything, but it doesn't matter. I got the clear. Oh my god. My hands are shaking right now. I did it. 4 runs. it was so infuriating too because the last couple of runs were so close. And I just made so many mistakes on the other runs when I knew it could have cleared, and just being that little bit closer. Every single time that I failed the run, it was literally on the last burst. And I don't know what happened in the last one that we just did. I just played so well in P3. The web clearing situation was like as good as I could probably get it. I can't believe I just did that. Oh my god. I'm gonna go do some other bosses to calm down. Oh yeah, I'm actually shaking right now, guys. Holy shit.